You were just a postbox, really. A collector together of pieces of paper.
Postbox in that respect, but there was other aspect I was involved in as well. But I suppose in realistically, maybe you're right. I agree.
Just a postbox.
That's it as far as I can help you with. I can't help you any more than that.
Well, you've been very helpful.
And without a hint of sarcasm from Jason Beer there, we jump into Jarnail Singh's testimony again. And despite his previous assertions that he has no involvement in policy, he becomes the originator of policies sent to an audience, rather senior audience, ahead of a proposed policy meeting that he will be attending, including proposals for new criminal law policies. But it does get even better, because Jarnail Singh, in response to Brian Altman QC's questions, identifies himself as the lead prosecutor in subpostmasters cases. How's he going to backtrack from that? Let's find out and jump into the inquiry.
Can we look, please, at poll 0012, 2123, please? And if we scroll down, please. And, sorry, keep scrolling. Thank you. An email of yours of the 31st of January 2013, so the period that I'm referring to, i.e. post-April 2012. You say, Hugh, Susan, John, Ulwen, please find copies of the following papers for the above meeting. Current poll prosecution policy, proposed enforcement, etc., etc. So a series of criminal prosecution and investigation and enforcement policies. Agreed?
Yes.
This is seemingly for a prosecutions policy meeting on the 4th of February. Looking at the title, can you see that?
Yes.
Looks like some involvement in some way more than just following the policies, doesn't it?
If you had no involvement, as you've told us, in investigation and prosecution policy formation or development, why were you sending on prosecution, investigation, policies and enforcement policies for a meeting that you were going to attend?
And as well, proposals for them. It's not just the current policy, it's proposals for them as well. So who proposed them? It looks like him at the moment.
Well, I've collected everything together, sent it on to them to approve or discuss it. I think they wanted that to be, because on separation they wanted the board to approve it. I mean, there was some sort of process or procedure they were going through, and they asked me for those. So as I said to you, the Post Office Prosecution Policy was more or less adopted from the Royal Mail, and the same as the other aspect of it, the internal protocol for criminal investigation enforcement, that was adopted by the investigation team, and all the people who had an interested party in it, Susan or Hugh wanted them to be copied into it. So all I did, collected all of them and sent it on to the relevant people to have a meeting on the 4th of February, and then subsequently, go through it and agree it, or not.
You were just a postbox, really. A collector together of pieces of paper.
Postbox in that respect, but there was other aspect I was involved in as well. But I suppose in realistically, maybe you're right. I agree.
He's not really able to elaborate on the other aspects, though. He says he's very busy, he's doing other stuff. Yeah, I was just a postbox in this way, but I was doing other really important, busy stuff. Yeah, he doesn't seem to be able to identify specifics, real specifics, beyond being the postbox. And he did actually say in the last video about training of auditors and investigators, and we know how that went. And again, if you're training someone, it kind of implies you're in the driving seat of something.
Just a postbox.
Well, I wouldn't say just a postbox, but if you say that, maybe yes.
Can we look, please, at poll 0012 5197? And if we can go to the last email in the chain, please. And if we scroll up from there, email from Bond Dickinson, we scroll up. From Gavin Matthews at Bond Dickinson to Chris Oyard and you in May 14. I understand from Brian he's close to having a first draft of the poll prosecution policy document. He does have some questions, and then just looking at an example, what will the hierarchy of poll prosecution decision-making be in the future? Who will be making the final decision on authorising prosecution, Jarnail or Chris as General Counsel? Or will the role be split? And then the answer that comes back, Jarnail will be the decision maker for Post Office limited prosecutions. We recommend that procedure be put in place to enable the investigation officer to appeal to Chris as General Counsel in the event that he or she disagrees with Jarnail's decision.
Busted. So that's literally That's literally the post office saying Jarnail's in charge there, and he must have known it because he was sent the email.
And if we scroll up, please. Your reply, please see in blue, Chris and my reply to Brian Altman QC's 2 questions on the Poll prosecution policy. That does show you, does it not, Mr. Singh, involved in the formulation of policies in at least 2014?
No. What happened there was, I think Brian Altman was advising on it, on instructions or brief from Gavin Matthews. And I think he formulated some draft. I think he sent it to me to have a word with Chris, who was the interim general counsel for the Post Office. And I think I sent it to him. He wanted some sort of input from me, and I advised, and that never came into fruition. It never came into being at all. For some reason or other, I don't know where it landed. But when I left, I never made any decision on any prosecutions.
I'm not asking you about the substance at the moment, whether you, in the event, became the decision maker.
No.
On prosecution.
No.
I'm just asking you the question in the light of the evidence you've given in your witness statements and today orally, that you had no role in the formulation or the development of policy. Why we see in this email Brian Altman QC asking a question and you replying, please see Chris and my reply.
Because he's either saying here, I've lied to the QC, or I'm actually lying now about in my involvement in the policy, because I'm clearly identified by my own reply, even if there was input from Chris, that I am the decision maker on the prosecutions.
Which tends to suggest you had some role in the development of prosecution policy, doesn't it?
No, that Brian Altman was asked to draft it by Bond Dickinson. I don't know, I wasn't part of that briefing. It was sent to me as the only criminal lawyer. I passed it to Chris. Chris wanted to discuss it or go through it and various aspects of it. I in turn advised him, I think, or we discussed it, and there was a couple of points, questions he wanted to clarify or put forward to Brian. I passed it on to Gavin Matthews of Bond Dickinson, and he passed it back. And I think then Brian came to have a meeting, and I think that's where it was left. Nothing went forward, backwards.
Mr. Singh, this does not say, please see below Chris's reply to Brian Altman's questions. It says, please see below Chris and my reply. It's your reply, isn't it?
I don't, it's my email, I suppose, but...
No, it's not just your email, because I wouldn't be asking you questions if this email just said, please see below Chris's reply.
Well, obviously
I'm asking you the questions because it says Chris and my reply.
Well, because we discussed it. I mean,
Was it not your reply then?
Well, I'm working for an organisation. It's a joint sort of. He's the general counsel. He asked me to come and explain certain aspect of it, and I did. And then he said, well, Jarnail, I agree, I disagree. Jarnail, I don't understand point 2 of these questions. Or can you pose those 2 questions for Brian to clarify? That's my involvement in it. It wasn't something that I put forward or didn't put forward.
The replies you absolutely did put forward.
I mean, it was not, nothing since then. That maybe, that's as far as I can help you with. I can't help you any more than that.
Well, you've been very helpful.